knowledge that we're not alone ought not make us fearful. Salvation, that we acknowledge that we're not alone, ought to allow us to appropriate, to participate in the cosmological community that the clip just talked about. I think we have to understand that biblical theology confirms the fact that our salvation, our betterment as moral beings, does not emanate from cultural or cosmic created reality. It emanates from that which transcends both. The knowledge that aliens bring will not make us any better. It will not put us any closer to the eternal. For us to be blessed and transformed, the eternal must encounter us.
Very good point. Very, very good point. Yes. Yeah. At best, it'll. You know, we would. The government's response. Now that you mentioned government initially, is that we want their technology.
Right.
And the Pentagon especially wants the technology for weaponry.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is the first thing that a lot of people in government think of.
Or secular humanism. Yeah. The pride of progress. That if we have that technology, somehow we're better human beings. Well, we have the technology to leave this planet, but we're no morally better than we were 100 years ago.
And that's what we don't know about the aliens, too, is when we talk about technologically better, we don't know how that relates to their moral level or their value level as we see it.
Correct.
They may be technologically superior to us, but at a very low level of cosmic consciousness.
That's right.
And or it may be the opposite. They may be so far above us in terms of cosmic consciousness that they can bring us to a different level of understanding.
That's right.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of people also make the assumption that if they've been around longer, if they're more technologically advanced, they must also be more evolved in all ways. And that's not, again, we're making a major assumption there that may be completely incorrect.
And it's only in this area that we have such an area of ignorance in regard to unknown events.
Right.
We've discovered, we've started areas of what we call disaster studies for how people deal with major unforeseen events like hurricanes and earthquakes and things like that. And yet at the same time that so many people assume that this is a negative area, we do nothing to prepare the people to deal with this. Rather, we cover it all up. And the little bit that does come out is in terms of a negative reaction, fear.
Yes.
Very good point. I wanted to direct a question to Rabbi Shefetz, and that is, what references in the, obviously the Old Testament or the Torah and Judaism, and of course in Christianity by virtue of the Old Testament, have you found which could very well portend of ancient alien involvement in the affairs of man?
Any place that we find a reference to an angel could be understood as alien involvement.
That's true.
An angel is essentially alien.
Is alien.
Is alien. Now the question is, where does the angel emanate from? Does the angel emanate from some deeper place within the worlds, or does it emanate from other worlds? Yes. Judaism, I suspect, conventional Judaism would maintain that it emanates from deeper worlds, that it comes out, from God, through us. It would be a deeper manifestation. So that Ezekiel's, famous vision in the first chapter of Ezekiel, which is often quoted, which represents a chariot of God.
Yes.
Could you describe that a little bit for the viewers, because some people may not be familiar with Ezekiel, and I know that you.
Let me explain it as I've come to understand it, which may not please ufologists at all, but
no, I want your honest opinion.
We have the prophet Ezekiel is by the river Chabar in Babylonia. He's been abducted from Jerusalem along with the leadership of the people. The temple has been destroyed. Right. Jewish people are bereft because they can no longer fulfill the covenant of sacrifice in the temple, which was required for maintaining the connection with God. Ezekiel, bereft, a leader among the people, is by the river, cloud formations, winds. He looks up, he has a visionary experiences. He sees angels in the quadrants, and each of them with 4 faces and with wings. And then through the angels he experiences a circle of eyes. And the eyes can, if you like, can be very penetrating. And through the circles of eyes he ascends or descends, some of the rabbis say later. Yes. And has sees something like the appearance of the glory of God.
Yes.
Doesn't see God, doesn't
Right.
see the glory of God,
Right.
but something like,
Right.
which is a figure of sapphire blue and rainbow and luster, and he has a transforming experience. There isn't any question by what his vision is, he's transformed. And then the rabbis say, no, wait a second, you're not supposed to write this stuff down. You know, it isn't that it's a conspiracy to keep things
Awesome,
away,
Rabbi.
but there's some transforming experiences that can be dangerous to the uninitiated.
Yes.
And so he comes now and he writes it down and he proclaims it to the people. And the response is that he proclaims it to the people because the people need to know that it's still possible to maintain their contact with the divine even in exile.
Yes.
So he has a transforming experience. It doesn't mean that a UFO has come now
Right.
to teach him great secrets.
Well, yeah.
But you could if you like. You know.
And
That's
that
your
leads
show.
me- and that leads me to my next point.
Thank you.
And
Well,
that leads me
I
to
can
my
tell
next
you're
point.
biting at the,
Absolutely.
chopping at the
I'd
bit here,
bite
too.
that bit holder. You got any oats, I'll eat that too. The rabbi makes available to us the very heart of Old Testament theology, which is correlative to New Testament because of our accent or access to transcendent reality. The Christian tradition affirms the fact that we can receive and understand, even experience reality beyond us, but only in relation to the ground and the depth of all reality. And that is God or the eternal consciousness, however you want to choose to call it.
Cosmic consciousness.
Yeah, cosmic consciousness. And that is because the very ground of what we are, that all we are emanates from God. But the very depth of that which is cosmic and created emanates from him too. And so a UFO can come with knowledge, but even if it came with knowledge, it wouldn't be knowledge that affects us ultimately.
Yes, you made that point earlier as well. Yeah. Is that the message that you would address to your congregation, let's say right after the event where they land on the White House
So
lawn?
I'd quote a passage from John 10:16 and tell him Jesus said, I have sheep that ye know not of. In that context, it seems that Jesus was talking about the Gentiles. But in the broader context, exegeting that in light of that experience, one would have to say, one shepherd, different flock.
Very good. Okay. Dr. Lavender, do you have any comments on this? I know you're coming more from a sociological perspective, but what is your particular religious background, if I may?
I'm Jewish.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes. But
Great.
I find nothing to disagree with, really, in what the minister or the rabbi has said. There is already different ways of approaching God or what one believes in on this planet, and other planets would perhaps add a little bit more diversity.
Yeah.
But the concept of diversity and different ways of approaching the goal are already there.
Right. Very good. Whew. This is, a really such a complex subject, and in such a short period of time to try and broach that. Do any of you have any comments or questions about what was your belief prior to this show as far as extraterrestrials, Reverend Royal?
Simply this, that one would have to explain and deal with paranormal phenomena, dealing with a theologian, Rudolf Otto's understanding in a book he names The Idea of the Holy. And what he calls the holy is that realm of reality that transcends our rational understanding. That there is an area of reality that's not black or white.
Right.
It's gray.
I'm glad you made that
And
point.
it's also numinous.
Yeah.
That is, it eludes, apparently, it eludes our ability to manipulate, enfold, or handle it.
And there certainly are no adequate words or no way of adequately conceptualizing what God really is. Because one of the things I've said for many years, and it's because of my own background, is, how would a man who was born blind describe the color red? It'd be impossible. But if you could somehow, through some sort of technology, get him to see a flash of red for 1 second, he would say, wow, red, now I know what it is. I thought I knew what it was all these years.
But the question concerning we who live on earth is, Do those who possess eyes, have we truly seen the color?
Okay, good point.
Moses, the rabbi can tell you, Moses never saw red until he encountered Horeb, the flaming apex of Sinai, and the Eternal reveals himself. And he renounces.
Agrees.
There's a tradition that Moses passed by the burning bush every day for 40 years. Until finally he was ready to see it.
Okay. Good
Fascinating.
point. Good point. Let me see. I'd like to ask any of you if, for example, you, Rabbi Shefetz, I take it you don't necessarily believe in the existence of extraterrestrial beings necessarily being of other planets.
I neither believe nor disbelieve, let me put it that way.
I see. Okay.
I'll suspend disbelief.
Okay, very good. Well, I could see we're, I'd love to take this further, but I could see we're running out of time. So I guess I'll have to wrap up. Unfortunately, I wish I could go on for another half hour, but that's impossible. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you very much for being here on the show. Possibly at some future point in time, we might all meet again and discuss this further. Next week, I'm going to present another aspect of ufology that you may not be aware of. Well, what happens when belief in extraterrestrials becomes a religion unto itself? Next week, we'll meet the members of what I believe to be a UFO cult. Thanks for watching. I'm Lou Rosano for the Miami UFO Network and for MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. And remember, we are not alone.